What's up guys, Dave here from Knives, Gadgets, and More, and today we're going to compare these two knives. Alright guys, so as you can see we have here a Ganzo and a Civivi, and specifically we have the Ganzo Firebird G720, and then we have the Civivi Elementum. And these are just two of my knives. I bought both of them. I do like both of them, but today we're going to put them against each other and see how they fare in several different categories. And then at the very end, I'll reveal to you which of these two knives I like more. So let's get into the comparison. Let's start by talking about the steel of the Ganzo Firebird G720. So the steel that you get on this knife is 440C, and you can see it right there. 440C is okay. It's decent steel for an affordable knife, and this knife is very affordable. It's not the hardest steel. It does a good job at resisting corrosion, and because it's not super hard, it's fairly easy to sharpen when the time comes. So 440C is what you get on the Firebird G720. It's not bad. Not the best, but it's not bad. Now with the Civivi Elementum, you're getting, let's see, does it say it on the blade? No. You're getting D2, and I love D2 on these affordable knives. D2 is tool steel. It has a very good hardness. It's not the best when it comes to resisting corrosion, but it's still okay. It's not bad, but it does a really great job at retaining its edge, and it takes a fine edge as well. So I really like D2 steel. I think it's awesome. I love it when affordable knives use D2. So out of these two, which do I think is better in terms of blade steel? I think the Civivi is way better. In my opinion, D2 is better than 440C, and yeah, the Elementum is taking the win in this category. Next, let's talk about the blade shape that you get. So with the G720 from Ganzo, you have a really broad drop point blade, and I love it. I think it's awesome. I love the way this knife looks. This knife is a big, beefy, broad folder, and I think it's super cool. It's a very thick blade, as you can see right there, and it does a great job at chopping and cutting, just like you would expect from a large folding knife. But yeah, this knife is a good cutter. I've chopped up whole boxes with it, and I think the blade looks great, and it also cuts and chops really, really well. So good job from Ganzo on the G720. Now the blade shape that you get on the Civivi Elementum is also a drop point, but it's a little sleeker, a little more elegant, a little more lightweight. There's definitely a big weight difference between these two knives. Yeah, it's a more elegant and lightweight blade profile. It also cuts and slices really, really well. So performance is no issue with this knife. But yeah, nice little drop point blade on the Elementum. Cuts well, slices well, very good blade shape. I think it's got a hollow grind rather than a flat grind on the Ganzo. And yeah, I think it looks great, and I think it performs very, very well. Now, out of the two, which do I think is better? It's hard to tell. They both perform really well at cutting. This one's going to be a better slicer, and this one's going to be a better chopper. But if I just base the blade shape off of looks alone, then I think I'm going to give the win to the G720, because there's just something about this large, broad drop point, along with the handle, which we'll talk about, that makes this knife look really cool. So I'm going to give the win in this category to the G720. Alright, so next let's talk about the scales. So with the G720, you have G10 scales, and I love the way they look. I love the way they're shaped. They come to this almost guard at the top, and I think they look really cool along with the blade. You do have some texturing on there, kind of these horizontal uneven lines. I think they look cool. This one's in black, but it comes in a couple of other different colors as well. In fact, I think it comes in an OD green like this one, which I think is pretty cool. Got some jimping up there when you hold it, but overall this handle is very comfortable. It's a large handle, gives you a great grip on this knife. Feels comfortable. Now I also want to point out that these scales are not super slim, and that's important if you intend to carry this knife around a lot in your pocket as an EDC blade. This is kind of a bulky knife to carry. It is large, but really the big issue is that the scales are fairly thick and they're not super slim. So you notice this knife in your pocket because of that. You can still carry it around. It's not a huge deal, but it's kind of a trade-off. Those large grips are great for filling up your hand, but they do make this knife a little bit less comfortable to carry around and more bulky when it's sitting in your pocket. But overall, I really like the comfort of this grip. I really like the size of it, the looks, and yeah, I think it's a good grip for this knife. Now, I also like the scales that you get on the Civivi Elementum. It's a completely different idea, it's a completely different style of knife, but first of all, it's the same material, so you got G10 on your scales here, and the texturing is also very different. You've got kind of checkering on these, whereas you have the horizontal lines on the G720. Comes in a ton of different colors. I have the OD green one, which I think looks awesome. But yeah, as I hold it, it's a very comfortable grip. Do have some jimping up here. No hot spots. Yeah, it's a great grip and feels good in your hand. On top of that, look at that right there. These scales are super thin, and that makes this knife really awesome to carry around as an EDC blade. This knife is also really lightweight, which helps make it really nice to carry around, but the fact that it's so slim just makes it disappear in your pocket, and I really like the grip design that comes on the Elementum. And the cool thing is, even though it's super thin, it's still very comfortable. I mean, it's just as comfortable in my hand as the Ganzo G720. So yeah, I think they did a great job on the grip of this knife. It does have a lanyard hole, and so does the G720 if that's something you want to add to either of these knives. But yeah, I really enjoy the grip on this knife. It's lightweight, it's slim, and it's super comfortable. So yeah, Civivi did a great job on the handle design of the Elementum. Now, out of the two, which has the better handle, scales, grip? In this category, I'm gonna give the win to the Elementum. I think they're both very comfortable to carry around in your hands, so that's not an issue with either one. But because the scales on the Elementum are so thin, it's also super easy and comfortable to carry around in your pocket, and that's the reason I picked it as the winner in terms of the handle. Alright, and that brings us to the next category, which is going to be the locking mechanism. Now, with the Ganzo G720, you can see right here, basically it's a fake Benchmade Axis lock. It's a copy of the Benchmade Axis locking system. And the Benchmade Axis mechanism is awesome. It's a great mechanism, it's strong, and yeah, it's really cool that you can get that mechanism on an affordable knife like this. To close the blade, you have those kind of tabs on both sides, and you just pull them down, and then you can close. And then to deploy the blade, you have thumb studs on both sides, and you can simply deploy it with your thumb slowly. Now, there's a lot of guys out there who can flick open knives that have this Benchmade Axis system. I can't do it very well, and even if I could do it well, you really can't do it on this knife. The reason why is because the blade does deploy smoothly, but it doesn't swing open super easily. And I think that's the case because the springs are pretty heavy in that fake Benchmade Axis system. And that makes it a more safe knife, but it really doesn't allow you to swing open the blade, which I can't, which I'm not very good at, but yeah, with this knife, I think the faux Benchmade Axis is cool, but it's kind of stiff, and it's kind of boring to open this knife up. Yeah, you can do it with one hand, but for me, it's not exciting. And if you've watched me at all, you know I like to fidget around with these knives a lot, and I just can't do it with this one, so that is kind of a bummer. But it's a strong locking system, and I mean, this is a really affordable knife, so I don't think it's that big a deal that it's not the easiest blade to deploy. Now, when it is deployed, no wiggle, and when it's closed, the alignment is pretty good there. So yeah, I think the deployment on this knife is good, but I wouldn't call it great. Now, the locking mechanism that comes on the Civivi Elementum is a simple liner lock. And so, to close the blade, all you do is push to the side and then close it. And then to deploy, you have a flipper here which has a little bit of texturing on the top, and you just flick it right open. And I have to say, I love to deploy the blade on this knife. It is buttery smooth, super easy, super fun. This knife is awesome when it comes to deployment. It's just super easy, effortless. I love the way Civivi knives deploy, including this one. Like I said, it just swings open super smooth, and it's really fun to do. So, I mean, it's just buttery smooth. That's the best way I can describe it to you if you haven't deployed the blade on one of these Civivis. Now let's check for blade wiggle. Nothing. Let's check the alignment. Looks pretty good. So yeah, this knife is super fun, super easy to deploy, and I really enjoy it. Now out of the two, which one has the better locking system and blade deployment? Well, I really do like the fake axis lock that you get on the G720. I think it's super cool, super strong, a little bit more unique than a liner lock, but I have to give the win to the Civivi here because it's just so smooth when you deploy this blade. And it just feels like you get so much more quality than you do with the G720. And that should be no surprise, right? Because Civivis, even though they're still affordable, they are more costly than Ganzo knives in general. But yeah, in terms of blade deployment, it's no question the winner is going to be the Civivi. It's much smoother, much more fun to deploy. It's not even a competition there. Alright, now let's compare these two in terms of the clip that you get. So with the Ganzo G720, you can see the clip right here. It's kind of a deep carry clip, kind of a unique design. It does set you up for tip up carry. And I don't think you can easily swap it to the other side. You have kind of a glass breaker right here, and I don't know how difficult it would be to swap this over to the other side. It looks like you could probably get a tool to do it, but honestly it looks like a little bit of a process and not one that I would really want to get into. But if you're kind of handy and you want to swap it over to the other side, maybe that's not a big deal for you. But for me, just a right-handed user, the clip is fine right here. Tip up carry, like I said. And yeah, it's a basic deep clip that works. Now, as for the Elementum, you also have a deep carry clip. But as you can see, you've got some cutouts, which maybe lighten it up, but probably just add a little bit more design to it. Sets you up for tip-up carry. Doesn't look like you can easily swap this one either, so keep that in mind if you're a lefty and you have to have the clip on the other side or something like that. But yeah, for me, just a right-handed user, it's a great clip, and this knife carries very well. Now, I do want to show you what these two knives look like inside a pocket, so let's do that next. Alright, so as you can see, both clips are pretty deep carry, and that makes the knives really kind of disappear, which is what I prefer. Now, I don't mind if a knife sticks out a little bit if you just have a standard clip, but I do prefer when it disappears like this because I think it's just a little bit more comfortable for me. Now, out of these two knives, I can tell you, again, the Ganzo G720, even though it disappears, it's a much larger knife, it's bulkier, and you're gonna know that it's in your pocket for sure. The Civivi Elementum is a much slimmer knife, much lighter weight, and I can tell you just from experience, because I have carried both these knives, that this one just disappears in your pocket. It feels great, and yeah, that's no surprise because it's a smaller knife and it's slimmer and more lightweight. So, but that being said, both knives do carry deeply in your pocket, and I think that's a good thing. Now next, let's look at these two knives side by side, just so you can get an idea of the size difference that we have going on here. So obviously you have a much larger knife with the Ganzo G720 than the Civivi Elementum. It's a much broader knife, just a bigger knife in general. And that might be something that you're looking for if you're watching this video. So if you want a knife that is larger, maybe more for like chopping up boxes or something like that, then this might be the better option for you. But if you're looking for something to carry around in your pocket all day long, it's just no comparison. The Elementum is going to win out. It's smaller, it's lighter, it's slimmer, and that makes it carry much more comfortably in your pocket. Now, I don't have a scale to show you the difference in weight, but I can tell you this one is pretty chunky and this one is fairly lightweight, even for its size compared to some other knives that are similar size. This one is a lightweight knife, and yeah, it just feels great. There's kind of an overall size comparison for you. Again, you got a much smaller knife with the Elementum than the G720. And yeah, that should give you a good idea of the differences in terms of scale. Alright, so with all of that said, which of these two knives do I like better? If I could only choose one, which one would I choose? Do you want to take a guess? If I could only choose one, the knife that I would choose is the Civivi Elementum. I love this little knife, and to be honest with you, I love it a lot more than I thought I would when I bought it. I bought this knife because I thought it would be a good knife to review for this channel. I wasn't blown away by the way the handle looked or the way the blade looked. I didn't think it looked bad, but I just wasn't blown away by it. I thought it would be kind of a plain little folder, but as soon as I took it out of the package and started handling it, I kind of fell in love with it. This knife has a wonderful fit and finish, and it's got a great balance, great weight. I honestly can't tell you what exactly it is about this knife, but when you get it in your hand, it just feels awesome. Now, like I said before, I love the way the blade deploys on this knife. Super smooth, buttery smooth. It just feels like quality. And that really applies to the whole knife. It just feels like quality all the way around. I mean, the scales feel great. The clip is simple but elegant. And yeah, like I said, I didn't expect to like this knife as much as I do, and I can tell you it's kind of quickly become one of my favorites, one of my go-tos when I'm just grabbing a knife to go in my pocket for the day. So yeah, I really love this knife. Why do I love it so much? I can't really, for some reason I can't really tell. I don't know, it's kind of weird, but I really like this knife. I think it's super awesome. Now, that's not to say that the big old Ganzo G720 is a bad knife. This is a good knife too, and it's much more affordable than this knife. Now, this is not an expensive knife either, but this is really affordable. I do love the way the broad drop point blade and the handles look on this knife, and I also really like that it has that kind of fake Benchmade axis lock, but it's not the smoothest and easiest to deploy. It's kind of chunky to carry around, although I do carry it sometimes. It's also got 440C steel versus D2, which I think is better on the Elementum. But yeah, it's a good knife. I'm glad I bought it. I kind of consider it a beater, and it holds up really well in that job. But yeah, out of these two, the winner is definitely the Civivi Elementum. Better steel, better fit and finish, better quality, better deployment. I'm choosing this little knife every day of the week. So that's my pick. Let me know if you agree or disagree down in the comments, because I'd love to see what you have to say. Now again, both of these knives are good knives. I'm glad I bought both of them. I will leave links in the description below for both of these knives if you're interested, if you want to pick one up. Those links are affiliate links, and they do help out the channel, which is greatly appreciated. Other than that, thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I hope to see you in the next video. See ya.